In this video, I will demonstrate how I air layered this Jessenia Pothos to increase variegation and just to propagate for extra plants. First, I'm just repotting. As you see, my ceramic pot has some pre-drilled holes that I drilled in prior to this potting. I am just taking this out of its old pot because as you see the roots have started to kind of like grow out. I mean, it's not root bound. I could have left it in there, but because I actually want to add more to this plant, I decided to increase its pot size, not by much, more vertically than horizontally. So I'm using my soil mix that I've pre-mixed. It has like 25% perlite, some moss, and I think I added a little bit of pumice. It's really just a regular potting mix with some additives. Um, I just wanted it to be well draining because I have certainly killed some pothos in the past from overwatering and root rot. So once my pot is pretty full, I added this bamboo stick and this wire hanger because I wanted it to stand up for the air layering process. I needed something to mount the air layering sack to, and since pothos vine is not really a strong vine, I wanted it to have some support. So here I'm getting ready to start the air layering. I'm just using regular saran wrap or plastic wrap and some sphagnum moss that you usually see with like orchid plants. I wet my moss and cleaned it and squeezed it out so that it was damp. I'm using some root stimulator and spraying my nodes to keep them wet to start. Now I accidentally sprayed that plant with some peroxide water. I thought it was just plain water, and my plant did get some spots later on, which you might see in further clips. So here I'm just going to use the root stimulator on this toothbrush and gently tap the nodes because I want them coated with root stimulator to increase root growth. At this point, I am just wrapping my pothos plant, wrapping the nodes rather with the sphagnum moss and saran wrap. My goal is to try and keep it airtight because I want to increase humidity and reduce a lot of airflow just to keep the sphagnum moss nice and wet. So I will just tuck it all in and wrap it around, and I'm going to use some rope, like some, I forget what you call that rope, but some rope to go around and keep it tight. I think it's called twine. So sorry about the footage. I'm not a good camera person. But I am just wrapping it up so that it's secure, so that the sphagnum doesn't come out and so that it stays moist inside, because you really don't have to water this moss as often as you would your regular plant because it's so seal tight. So this is what it looked like, and after some months, I would say this was like a month, the growth was crazy, and I was like, wow. So this is in November. I decided to open it up and just take a look to see if it was working. So this was the first time I opened it up, and then I opened it again just at the end before I took the cutting. So I use like a syringe, which you'll see later on in some of these videos or in the clip, to water the sphagnum moss without opening it. But it is good to check on your roots because you definitely want to make sure they're not in there like rotting or drying out. And so at this point, the roots look really good. I'm trying to get the best footage I can, but I think you could see, it's hard to tell because the sphagnum and the roots kind of have the same color. But I'm gently peeling off the sphagnum moss because you can easily rip a root off just trying to pull the sphagnum moss. Like it adheres to the roots, so it's hard to get it off. But as you can see, I do have some roots, and I'm like super happy at this point. I can tell the plant is thriving because of all the new growth. Like, it's simply producing leaf after leaf for me. And I know that, this air layering is not only just giving me roots, but it's also producing a really happy plant up top. Like, the plant is just putting out new leaves, one after the other. And it's like late fall at this point. So my plant is really happy. I also moved it to the bathroom, and it just loves it in here. The light is just nice and bright, and the humidity that it gets when people showers, I think it's just very helpful. So if you can see here, I think I have like 3 roots here. So 1, 2, 3, like 2 pretty nice sized ones, and then like a small one. So I'm gonna wrap it back up. Oh, there's like 4. I think I counted 4. So I'm gonna wrap it back up. And because I want to give the roots a little bit longer time to grow. I'm hoping for some more substantial roots so that when I cut it, the root system is strong enough to support a new plant. And the transition is seamless. So again, the same process. I got a new piece of saran wrap. I used the same sphagnum moss that I had. I just sprayed it with some peroxide to, help, I guess, add oxygen, aerate it a little bit, clean it up. And I'm going to wrap this back up, tie it back with the twine, and set it on the pole again for about another month. When I do finally film the last part of this footage, it is January 8th. So this is my Jessenia plant that I got over the summer, and I will put a picture of what it looked like when I got it. It's been through some tough times as I have kept it in soil, but definitely have been taking cuttings of it to propagate and have not been super successful in getting the variegation. So as you'll see, this cutting here was successful in rooting. However, I wanted to have one in leca, and it's doing okay. It does have some root rot, and I will have to transfer it out of this soon. But I'm just giving it some time to establish before I take it out again, because whenever I transfer plants that are in semi-hydro, they tend to have a hard transplant. So, but as you can see, the variegation is there. However, it is just not as fabulous as the mother. I have some theories as to why the mother plant is doing so well. So also on the bottom, so I'm just gonna move the camera a little bit. I have tried, these are also props that I have just propped and planted back in, and you can see again there's some variegation. Like, yeah, this is Jessenia. It's nice. The chartreuse color come through. However, my mom plant, my mother plant is just like, yes, I'm here for the variegation, which I love about this plant. This is also another cutting that I replanted back in. And again, this one is like, it's almost looking like a jade, but it's not. It's all coming from the same plant. So my theory on, and then this one here, this variegation is like, what is happening here? It's like so different from the rest. Like, it's like almost like marble clean a little bit, but then of course the next few that came out didn't have much variegation at all. Sorry about my filming. I'm not the best with these little leaves I was talking about. So I'm gonna set the camera back up because I hate moving the camera around because I'm not really that good at filming, as you will notice. But I am going to get better. Okay. So this time I wanted to try air layering. And for those of you who may not be too familiar, air layering is the process of taking like these nodes that come on the vine and keeping them moist with good humidity and warm, right? Just like you would a normal chop and prop, but the only difference is you're not chopping. And I think, because you'll notice like most of the leaves upward from the from the air layered have great variegation. Although, again, this mom, all her new growth comes out like really variegated most of the time, but then it like fades over time, and that, you know, that might just be the nature of this plant. It might just be the nature of the variegation doesn't last, almost like a Birkin, philodendron Birkin, where it comes out so stunning with the white. I have one of those too. He's doing really well. But again, the variegation doesn't last. So that could be the case. Even though I keep this in like great medium light. Actually, this one stays in my bathroom. So I am finally ready because I know the roots are probably crazy. I will also post some pictures on this video of the first time I opened it up after some weeks, because you don't really have to go back in here too much. And I use like a syringe to add liquid to it, so I never really have to open it up because I'm using it's like a turkey baster. And I just like inject the water into this sack here when I feel like it's dry, like if you squeeze it and you don't get like the moist, I will add. All right, so this should be interesting because it has been some weeks since I've opened it up, but I'm excited to see how and if my roots have been successful. I feel like they have been because, like I said, the variegation is just so stunning. But this is like very delicate process. All right, so this is all sphagnum moss you're seeing here. I'm just gonna rest the plant up top so I can gently take off the sphagnum moss, and I'll probably like fast forward this because this is time consuming. But so while I was taking off the sphagnum moss, I realized that I didn't really keep it as moist as I had hoped. So the roots did grow, and you really can't see them in this cut, but you will be able to see them. But I accidentally took one root off when I was pulling off the moss, so oops. Eek! So I wanted to plant this today. I wanted to cut it, plant it in soil. Actually right back in this pot because I'm trying to like really fill this one up and have several points of new growth so that the variegation comes through strong. But is not as, I don't know, it's like not as healthy as I would have liked it to be. So what I'm gonna do is let it I'm gonna chop it, but I'm gonna sit it in water for a little while. I think. I'm not sure. Not 100%. I'm still trying to make sure I get it all off. I'm like, all right, like the rest of this is gonna have to just come off in water because I don't want to like mess up any more root. I feel like I have substantially taken off some things that were probably roots. But this was successful in rooting. As you can see, the root is here. And now for the big chop. So I'm just gonna do this node here. I don't know if you guys can see it. And I'm gonna cut it right under this node here. There's a node with a root, and then there's a node right under it. Feels so crazy like cutting hair. But look at it. She is stunning. She's stunning. And like I don't have to worry too much because she's already rooted. But if I really wanted to, I could cut these at each point, which I might, and have more. Like I could cut a couple and root them and put them back in my pots and really fill it up. Just gotta keep the soil moist. I was not keeping this as moist as I should have, and I think that's why, but I was only covering these 2 nodes, so I guess this is the best. All right, if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Later. So as promised, here are some final pictures. This is the root once it was clean. I decided to chop it into 3 different sections, use some root stimulator, and try to root the nodes on the extension pieces from the root. Put it in a temporary pot, and we'll see. I planted the rooted portion back with the mother plant. This was my Jessenia when I first got it in the summer. Beautiful new growth was coming in when the sun was so bright. As you can see, the variegation is like white. This was the mother before I just cut it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learn more about air layering. Ta-ta!